Welcome back to DMV Sports Zone.
Chased down by Beal in the corner for three, gets fouled and hits.
Welcome to DC.
Walker tied him out.
You know where you're at, the USA cap. You're taking it slightly, I'm taking it slightly. Now how you gon' act on you gon' be right back. When we gon' be right here, we gon' be right here. We ain't going nowhere. Welcome to DC.
What's good, everyone? It's your boy Nati with another video for the channel. Welcome back to DMV Sports Zone. Football is back, and so am I. And I got you guys with a great training camp preview for the Washington Commanders in 2022. And there's a lot to go over before diving into everything on the field. But let's first dive into all the offseason moves to date for the Washington Commanders. So first and foremost, in terms of the acquisition, we have a new name. We have a new brand. This is our first training camp, first season as the Commanders, right? Because the last 2 years we were the Washington football team. Before then, we were the Washington Redskins. But now the name changes to complete. We can say whatever we want about it. We can say whatever we want about the Commanders name specifically. But it is the Commanders. We are the Commanders. And now we got to move forward, right? And another big acquisition, of course, was at the quarterback position, right? Carson Wentz. He's only guaranteed $28 million this year. We could cut bait with him after this year if everything doesn't pan out. But we did have to swap second-round picks with the Indianapolis Colts this year. And also next year, we have to give up a third-round pick, which is likely to be a second-round pick if Carson Wentz plays 7% of games, which I think we want, right? At least playing 70% of games while being effective is what we want, unlike last year for the Colts. And also, we gave up a 2022 third-round pick as well. But it really didn't matter in the end because we recouped a lot of that trade compensation by trading back in the first round from 11 to 16 in the Jahan Dodson eventual pick that came to be for the Washington Commanders. We also got Andrew Norwell as well at guard, signed a 2-year, $10 million contract with the team. Defensive end, F.A. Obada, signed a 1-year, $1.88 million contract. And I believe Obada actually had 6 sacks last year, so he should be a good rotational piece for us. Trey Turner as well, who's likely going to be our starting right guard. Signed a 1-year, $3 million deal pretty late into the offseason. Actually, I think it was around May when we signed him. So it wasn't during the first or even second wave of free agency this year. And we also signed Alex Erickson as a kick returner to replace someone who I'll mention a little bit later. And, of course, in late April, we drafted, and you guys saw during our draft party, we drafted Jahan Dodson, Fedarian Mathis, Brian Robinson Jr., Percy Butler, Sam Howell, Cole Turner, Chris Paul. Not that Chris Paul, the other Chris Paul, and cornerback Christian Holmes as well. So that's been our acquisitions, our notable acquisitions to date. Obviously, we've had some more, or we made some more moves as well, but those are sort of the big moves. And in terms of extensions, Jaden Mckissick, I made my reaction video a while back. It was a complicated situation. We thought Jaden Mckissick would sign with the Bills, and I don't think many of us would blame him for that because the Bills are, in my opinion, the Super Bowl favorites this year. But nah, he's loyal to the soil when it comes to the Commanders, and he came back to us and signed a 2-year contract worth only $7 million. And I honestly think if he stays healthy, that could be a steal of a deal. We re-signed special teams ace, but not good safety at all, Troy Apke, to a 1-year contract worth a little over $1 million. So inexpensive contract to bring back a good player on special teams for us. Wide receiver Cam Sims, we also re-signed 1-year, $2.5 million contract. So he's still going to be that backup wide receiver for us. Hopefully won't have to be that starting wide receiver too alongside Terry when you got a Jahan Dodson and you got a Curtis Samuel right there, and hopefully an improved De'Ami Brown. Free safety Bob McCain, we signed a 2-year extension worth $11 million. And we could say whatever we want about how effective he was last year and how his 2 picks against Jake Fromm in the New York Giants game, the last game of the season, definitely inflated his salary. But it is what it is. We re-signed him. He's likely going to be a starting free safety. And towards the second half of last season, he did improve, right, alongside Cam Curl. And that safety group was pretty effective. Also re-signed swing tackle Cornelius Lucas. He was our starting left tackle in 2020. Was playing pretty much backup last year behind a Samuel Cosme on the right side and a Charles Leno on the left side. He signed a 2-year extension worth $6.5 million, which is funny because early on in the offseason, he talked about online at least how he was disrespected or he felt disrespected by the team. And I don't know, it was a little tense between the team and him, but eventually came back home, re-signed, and I'm happy about it. We also re-signed kicker Joey Sly, right? Joey Sly was not our kicker, I believe, to start the season last year, but he eventually became our kicker. And he was pretty effective for us. And I have no problem giving him a 1-year extension worth $2.4 million. At the end of the day, that's pretty much chump change for an NFL team. So I think that's fine. The team also exercised a 5th-year option for Montez Sweat for 2023. So he's going to be with us at least for the next 2 seasons. And I'm excited about that. I still think he's our best defensive end on this team, even over one Chase Young. I mean, if you have 1.5 sacks through 9 games, I mean, I don't know. I get the 2nd overall pick, draft stock, and Chase Young, but Montez Sweat isn't too shabby himself. And he did have somewhat of a down year last year, but that was largely due to everything that was going on off the field with, a couple of deaths in his family. So I think he's going to have a bounce back season this year, and I'm rooting for him. I really am. And of course, we extended Scary Freaking Terry to a 3-year, $71 million contract extension that will leave Terry here in DC through the 2025 season. I think everybody was ecstatic after hearing that on, I believe, June 28th. And he's going to be a starting wide receiver 1 for years to come. And I'm excited, especially when you have a Jahan Dodson, a young pup right there on the other side of him, who I think brings a lot of the same vibes that Terry brings. And I'll mention that in a video soon to come. Departures. We cut Landon Collins, who's still on the market, actually. So he could come back anytime. And honestly, I would actually love for him to come back because second half of last season, really most of last season, he was effective. Like, he actually, I'm not going to say he played up to his $14 million AAV, average annual value, but he was a pretty good hybrid linebacker for us once they moved him down to linebacker, which is what fans were clamoring for months and months and months, and actually happened, much like what fans were clamoring for with Jamin Davis to play on the outside, but the team did it and wanted him to play on Mike. But we're just fans, right? We don't know anything. Defensive end Matt Ioannidis was also cut, signed a 1-year, $5.9 million contract with the Panthers, and that was definitely a tense contract situation during the offseason. I mean, the agent even got involved saying that, pretty much his client was disrespected by the team. The team lied about re-signing him and all that. But at the end of the day, he's not here. And him, alongside Tim Settle, also being let go, and Tim Settle signing a 2-year, $9 million contract with the Bills, unlike Jaden McKissick, sort of depletes our defensive line depth, which I think what we predicted, right, going into the season, because you can't sign all of these guys. You can't sign a Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Matt Ioannidis, a Tim Settle, Chase Young, a Montez Sweat. You're going to have to let go of some guys. Definitely depleted our defensive line group, and it's something to look out for come training camp and come the regular season in terms of how this defensive line holds up without these 2 guys. But we did draft Adarian Mathis in the 2nd round to sort of kind of replace them, so we'll see how that pans out. Starting right guard, Brandon Sheriff, I see a lot of hate for Brandon Sheriff out there. I saw a lot of hate for him before he left, and obviously since he's left. But I appreciate Brandon Sheriff and what he did for us. Everybody says, oh, he was injured all the time. But, I get that. But when he was on the field, he was super effective. He was our first All-Pro since Matt Turk in the 1990s. That has to count for something. That has to count for something. I don't care if he backed into an All-Pro. There were many seasons when he deserved to be an All-Pro and didn't even get that recognition. So I feel like him getting one All-Pro recognition in a year maybe he didn't deserve sort of accounts for the fact that he didn't get one for all the years that he did deserve one. So it is what it is. He's still a very good player for us, and I know nobody pays attention to Madden, but I feel like he was one of our top 3 players in Madden consistently over the last 3 or 4 years, and I know that's not saying much with this team, but yeah, he was let go, signed a 3-year, $49.5 million contract with the Jaguars, and yeah, it's going to be a Brandon Sheriff revenge game, or I don't know what you want to call it, come week 1 when we're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Brandon Sheriff is arguably the best player on the Jaguars right now, so it should be interesting for sure. So he was our starting right guard, we let him go. Starting left guard, we also let go. We cut Eric Flowers, he's still on the market, so much like Landon Collins, we could re-sign him, and honestly, I see no problem with that, especially as a backup guy in our offensive line group. But I don't know if the team is going to go that way. But yeah, we did cut him. So again, I think Andrew Norwell is going to start at left guard. I think, and I think Trey Turner is going to start at right guard. So I think those two guys are going to try to replace Flowers and Sheriff. But honestly, at the end of the day, I mean, it's kind of hard to replace a Sheriff when, again, All-Pro, Pro Bowler, multi-time Pro Bowler, but we'll see. I'll discuss a little bit more about that when going into my 10 most interesting things to watch at training camp. But lastly, in terms of notable departures, Ricky Seals-Jones signed a 1-year, $1.87 million contract with the New York Giants, and I think that kind of makes sense as well because, I mean, the Giants' tight end situation is in flux. Ricky Seals-Jones wants a chance to start, and while, yes, our situation is also kind of in flux with Logan Thomas probably going to be out the first couple weeks of the season, we also have a John Bates. We just drafted Cole Turner. We really don't know what we have in Sammis Reyes, but, I mean, at least in those two guys at top, it's going to be kind of hard for Ricky Seals-Jones to make an impact. But we also let go of DeAndre Carter. Alex Erickson was sort of brought in to be our DeAndre Carter of 2022. And this is kind of sad, right? 1 year, $1.35 million deal with the Chargers. I mean, DMVSportsZone. Like, I remember tweeting out during when it was Pro Bowl voting time saying, oh, DeAndre Carter should make the Pro Bowl. He retweeted it. He liked it. And the tweet was gaining a lot of traction online. And I don't know, he was just a super nice guy in terms of our interactions online. And obviously he was super energetic and super, you sense very good vibes from him when it came to the team, you know, putting him in all their videos and stuff and all their content. So it is kind of sad. But to be honest, after the Thanksgiving mark, he wasn't as effective as a kick returner, punt returner as he was before then, right? We all remember the kick return or the return touchdown against the Atlanta Falcons and all the plays where he basically, you know, got us further down the field and stuff early on in the season. But towards the second half, I mean, we saw a lot of fair catches when they shouldn't have been fair catches, it seemed like, and him getting pissed off. And it ended up being a departure for DeAndre Carter. He's with the Chargers. I think he's going to be a pretty good player with the Chargers, but we'll see because, I mean, they have a lot of talent on that team. But I'm rooting for him. He did some good things for us last year and really last year in terms of returning and also receiving as well. Now, getting to training camp logistics for this year. So, first and foremost, players and coaches reported on Tuesday. You guys will likely see this video on Wednesday. They reported on Tuesday, but practices officially run from Wednesday, from today, July 27th through Thursday, August 18th. And this will be the first Washington training camp with fan attendance to not be held in Richmond, Virginia since 2012. Since before the RG3 season, because this training camp will be held at the team's facility in Ashburn, Virginia. I have mixed feelings about this. Obviously, Ashburn is closer than Richmond for a lot of us out there. But, I mean, this might be a controversial take. I kind of liked, you know, the getaway trip to Richmond. I went, you know, with my dad one time. And I don't know, it was just kind of cool. And obviously, everybody knows about ZZQ Barbecue. And it was just nice to, you know, go there after attending a training camp practice. But, I mean, it is what it is. They're in Ashburn. And also, a weird system that they included this year was the fan lottery. The fan lottery essentially allowed for only a certain group of fans to be selected to come to see Washington practice this year in Ashburn. So it's no longer, you know, you can go, there's free tickets, anybody can go, right? Which was the case in Richmond. And, you know, so not as many people are going to training camp this year, which kind of sucks. Although, like last year, they are hosting their free practice at FedEx Field on Saturday, August 6th. And you know the DMV Sports Zone family, all four of us. Hopefully, I'm definitely going to be at the FedEx Field practice. Or I'm definitely, as of now, going to be at the FedEx Field practice on August 6th, and we'll get to see the team. And hopefully you guys come out as well. It's going to be free. I mean, why not come? Why not come to see your team, our team, perform on FedEx Field for the first time in 2022? Or at least for the 2022 season. And last but not least, the PUP list. So per reports, Chase Young, he's going to miss training camp, at least the start of training camp. I think most of it with the knee injury, right? Torn ACL. But I mean, it was a gruesome injury. He had, I believe I heard something about early in the season or early in the offseason of how he had to take parts of like his other leg and like they had to surgically like include parts of his other leg and his torn ACL leg, and like I don't know, it was just a complicated situation. And prayers out to him. I hope he recovers soon. I hope his health is first off very good just for himself, but also, for him to get back with the team and for him to be incorporated more so in our defensive line group. Logan Thomas as well, knee injury. We all remember the torn ACL against the Raiders on that dirty play by Yannick Ngakoue, but he's going to miss at least the start of training camp. Tyler Larson, rehabbing from a torn Achilles. Swing tackle Cornelius Lucas, non-football injury list for undisclosed reasons. Pretty interesting. Chase Roulier, also fractured fibula. And Coach Rivera said that Roulier was actually the most likely to return the soonest among all these players I just mentioned, the Young, the Thomas, the Larson, and the Lucas. So should be interesting. Chase Roulier is our starting center, one of the most underrated offensive linemen in this league. Is a very good player for us. It has been a very good player for us for years, but I think he should be back sooner rather than later. And yeah, it should be interesting. But as I sort of hinted at the beginning, now I want to get to my 10 most interesting things to watch at training camp. Okay. First off, number 10, who's going to return punts and kicks? I mentioned how Deandre Carter was a key departure. Alex Erickson was a key acquisition, right? But is Alex Erickson going to be our starting returner for the entire 2022 season, or is he just going to be a camp body? Like, how is that situation going to work out? Are we going to have one of our rookies potentially returning kicks? Maybe Jahan Dodson, even though he was a first-round pick, and I don't think the team is going to go that way, right? 16th overall pick returning kicks. That's pretty dangerous, but who knows, man? Who knows? Maybe one of our running backs. I don't really know at this point, so it should be interesting to see how that pans out in training camp. Number 9, when or if guys like Chase Young, Logan Thomas, Curtis Samuel, and others will be fully ready to participate in camp in the preseason. That's definitely going to be a question that lingers throughout, especially the early part of training camp. But really, as we go and move forward into the early part of the preseason and finish up the preseason and then head towards the regular season, it's going to be interesting to see when and if these guys return to the field sooner rather than later. Number 8, how does the stout defensive line, especially with Chase Young reportedly going to start out camp on the PUP list, how is it going to look? Right? How will the coaches incorporate rookie second-round pick Fedarian Mathis to replace the Tim Settle, to replace the Matt Ioannidis? How will Montez Sweat look, right, after missing a lot of time last year, right, and having a relatively down year for him, right, only 5 sacks? Right? How will Jonathan Allen look? I'm assuming Jonathan Allen will look the most polished among anybody on that defensive line just because he was one of our few Pro Bowlers last year. I mean, this man's was all pro caliber last year, to be honest with you. And I mean, you guys know, if I'm going to be a fan of any player on this channel, bro, I think based off of what I've said in the past, I'm like the Jonathan Allen stan, bro. And you saw the interview as well that we were blessed to have really at the draft party. And man, yeah, so I think Jonathan Allen is definitely going to be the guy on that defensive line, but we shall see how everybody else pans out. Also, Deron Payne, you have the lingering questions around his contract situation, and I mean, kudos to him. He's been showing up to practices, even with that situation lingering over his head, lingering over the team's head, but it shall be interesting to see, with that situation, how it pans out over the course of the offseason, but really even going into the season. Number 7. How will the new offensive line shape out? Everybody's talking about how, the loss of Brandon Sheriff doesn't mean anything. I mean, like, he wasn't even playing that many games with us. I mean, double-digit games with Brandon Sheriff, I think that's still... you can't dismiss that, right? You can't dismiss the Pro Bowl caliber of play that we've gotten out of Brandon Sheriff for the last couple of years. But we shall see if Andrew Norwell and freaking Trey Turner will replace and Eric Flowers and Brandon Sheriff on that offensive line. But I think in terms of three positions are definitely set. Charles Leno at left tackle, Chase Roulier once he comes back at center, and Samuel Cosme, who I think a lot of fans out there think is going to have an amazing second year, because we already saw bright spots last year, but injuries didn't necessarily get to put a full effective rookie season on the table for us. But I think he's going to have a great second year. So, honestly, he has the highest potential at anybody on this offensive line, not just because of his age, but because of his talent, his skills, and stuff. So those 3 positions are set. But in terms of left guard and right guard, you have the Andrew Norwell, you have the Trey Turner, but you also have the Wes Schweitzer that you have to incorporate as well. You have the Chris Paul as your 7th round pick this year. Keith Ismail, who I still believe is on the roster. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. So there are some guys that we got to incorporate. We'll see who wins out the battle between, especially Wes Schweitzer and one of Trey Turner or Andrew Norwell. So we'll see how things pan out there. But number 6, is Benjamin St. Juste ready to take that second-year jump? Is he? I mean, with reports out there, he sort of has the inside track as a slot cornerback for the team this season, even with his size, right? I mean, he's very big corner, very lengthy, but the reports out there is that he's going to be our starting slot cornerback, right, alongside Kendall Fuller, who I think, and a lot of fans out there think is much better suited to be on the outside, and William Jackson III, who was also much suited to be on the outside. So, I mean, Benjamin St. Juste, I think he showed us some very good things last year. He also had some concussions, which derailed his season. But I honestly think he has the potential of being a very good cornerback in this league. I don't know if it's going to be in the slot. I don't know if it's going to be on the outside. But it should be interesting to see where he plays, how much he plays, and really the entire cornerback position, because we have a Benjamin St. Juste, we have a William Jackson III, we have a Kendall Fuller, but who's next? Who's next after that? Right? In today's pass-happy league, you need a lot of great corners. You can never have too many great corners. So we'll see if Christian Holmes steps up or if somebody else steps up in that group. Number 5, who will step up at tight end? I mentioned Logan Thomas. I think he's going to miss a couple weeks into the regular season, not just training camp, not just the preseason. I don't think he's going to be ready come week 1. I know he talked about how that's his goal during our interview with him at the draft party. But honestly, with the reports out there, I just don't know if he's going to be ready. But I have full confidence in John Bates. I know that's Corey from On the Warpaths guy. I mean, he's been talking of John Bates really since we drafted him. So kudos to him. Talk about how he could be a very good tight end for us. And honestly, he was one of the best. I think he was the best, actually, if I'm not mistaken, blocking tight end in the NFL last year. And he has very soft hands. He can catch the ball really well. And you know how Carson Wentz loves to target his tight end. So I think John Bates is in for a very good season this year. Sneaky fantasy guy as well. And we'll see. Cole Turner as well has the athletic attributes that you want at tight end. He has the catchability. The blocking is just not there. And I don't know if it will ever be there. But we did draft him in the 5th round. And I know a lot of people in the comment section wanted me to talk more about Cole Turner earlier in the offseason. Well, I am now. I think he is a pretty good tight end. I think he could be a very good tight end for us. I don't know about Jairus's take from Jairus's corner about him being a top 10 tight end in this league potentially. But I think he could be a very good guy for us. And we'll see, man. But I think my confidence starts with John Bates and what he brings to the table for our team. And I think, again, with Carson Wentz targeting his tight ends often, I think John Bates is in for a very, very good season, very good second year. Number 4, how about our linebackers? We know Cole Holcomb is likely going to be our starting Mike linebacker, but is Jamin Davis going to be starting outside linebacker? Are we sure about that? I mean, he's been going in and out with the David Mayo, with some other guys in the rotation, but I want to see Jamin Davis put a full season together. Right, like last year, he showed some bright spots. Right, there were a couple of 4th down stops. I remember very distinctly the stop against the Bills. Right, I mean, it didn't really matter in the end because we kind of got blown out by the Bills. But I mean, there have been some good moments from Jamin Davis in his rookie season, but for the most part, very inconsistent. And I think he's going to bounce back slightly in his second year. I shouldn't say slightly. I think he's going to bounce back in his second year. I think he's going to be effective, but how effective? The jury remains out on that one. But even behind guys like Cole Holcomb and Jamin Davis, we don't really have that much. David Mayo, Khaleke Hudson. I mean, in my opinion, we should bring back Landon Collins. Even bring in an Anthony Barr, who I know has been floating out there among Commanders Twitter, but really even like legit reports. So I don't know, man. I'm not very confident in our linebacker position. I think that's our weakest spot on the team right now. So it should be interesting to see how that shapes out in training camp, whether Khaleke Hudson, David Mayo get more playing time or get more practice reps than Jamin Davis. I don't know. That would be kind of sad, right? He was a 19th overall pick just in 2021 for this team. But we shall see, man. We shall see. Come on, Jamin Davis. Please pull through for our team. Number 3, how does Jahan Dodson look out there on the field? I mean, we've already got so much hype for Jahan Dodson. Again, I'll mention this in a video soon to come or discuss more about this. But he's already done a lot of good things leading up into this point, right, with OTAs and everything in terms of the offseason programming. But I'm excited to see what he has for training camp, especially during that FedEx Field practice when I will be there, when most fans will be there and stuff. But yeah, how does he look also with Terry, right? how does he look as a complement to Terry? Because most of the offseason that we've seen in terms of the official team practices, it's just been Jahan Dodson's show because Terry McLaurin has had his contract situation. He's sort of been holding out in terms of not participating in practices and stuff. So it should be interesting to see Dodson and Terry in an official team practice for really the first time, right? They had that unofficial team practice, unofficial offense practice a couple weeks ago, I believe. But to be on the field officially, wearing the Commanders gear for the first time, it'll be interesting to see how Dodson performs, and I think he's going to perform very well. I think he's going to be a very solid wide receiver for us this season. Number 2, how is the very solid running back stable that we have here, how is that going to shake out? We have Gibson, we have Robinson Jr., right, who we drafted in the 3rd round, with the 3rd round compensatory pick, pretty much a 4th round pick, if we're going to be honest, because I think it was like 6 or 7 picks away from a 4th round pick. McKissick, Jaden Mckissick as well. We brought back 2-year, $7 million contract. And you can't forget Jared Patterson, who did some good things for us, even as an undrafted guy last year. I mean, how are the reps going to be sorted out there? I think Gibson is obviously the alpha. I mean, he was 6th in rushing last year in the NFL, and I get a lot of running backs went down last year with injuries, but I mean, you can't just dismiss being 6th in the NFL in rushing, right? And, you know, he was pretty effective for us, although the fumbles, man, that's pretty much what got him benched a couple of times last year, especially with fumbling on our side of the field. Those are killer plays. Hopefully, he could secure the ball more. And, you know, he didn't really have a fumbling issue in his rookie year, so hopefully this is just a one-off thing. But we shall see. Robinson Jr., I said this before, and I'll say this again. I think he's going to lead the team in goal line touchdowns. It wouldn't surprise me if that happens just because of the way he's built, and I think the role that they envision for him. But it should be interesting to see how reps, you know, work out in that group, because I think arguably that's our most talented group. That's our most talented group on the team, the entire team this year. And honestly, I think by far the most talented group on our offense right now, at least health-wise, because we still don't really know what we have in Curtis Samuel, right? We need to see him put, you know, more of that talent onto the field, and we'll see. But number 1, I think by far, it's just Carson Wentz look like he belongs. You guys know my doubts on Carson Wentz, and I'll mention this in another video soon to come, but even putting those doubts aside, Carson Wentz is going to be our best quarterback since Kirk Cousins, right? He has a lot of talent, a lot of arm talent. He's going to stretch the field, which us fans have been clamoring for a long time. It's been like pulling hairs out, scratching your eyes, sort of like quarterback play over the last couple of years. Minus maybe the Taylor Heineke, some moments with Taylor Heineke, but for the last 4 years, for the majority of the last 4 years, it's been that way. So Carson Wentz, I'm looking forward to seeing how he grasps the playbook. Is he making a ton of mistakes in practice? Do coaches feel comfortable with him and what he can bring to our offense? Those are all questions that I'm interested to see answered come training camp and come the preseason and as we head into the regular season. But those are my 10 most interesting things come training camp. That is my entire training camp preview for the Washington Commanders. You guys, again, will be seeing this on Wednesday, the first official day of training camp. And yeah, I'm excited, guys. Football is near. And this team is talented. There are some question marks on this team, but I'm excited to see, again, some of these questions answered as we roll along into training camp. But with that being said, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the DMV Sports Zone channel, where I like to post fire content like this as much as possible. Also, go follow our Twitter page at DMV Sports Zone, Instagram page, all lowercase DMV Sports Zone, and our TikTok at DMV Sports Zone as well. And yeah, see you guys relatively soon with another video.